Los Angeles cannot treat this Monday like another news dump. There is a rookie in the trenches trying to force his way onto the field, a heated debate about flipping projection for a massive receiver, raw speed battling to break through a crowded room, and Justin Herbert looking at a chance to silence the entire league. This is the kind of slate that separates a team comfortable with where it is from a team trying to crush the narrative. If you are a real Chargers fan, hit that like button and ride with me. Nick Barrett is exactly the kind of pick people ignore in May, June, and July, then suddenly act surprised when he starts taking snaps in September. 5th round, pick 145, out of South Carolina, with none of that fake shine you see from prospects built on empty hype. But look at his story. 15 sacks as a high school junior, his senior year wiped out by the pandemic, 4 years waiting for a college opportunity, riding the bench, working in the rotation, staying patient, and only in year 5 did he finally become a starter and begin showing what he could really do. This is where I get aggressive with my read. Some players arrive in the NFL without ever having to fight for room. Barrett has already lived that fight. He was not carried by status. He had to endure, grind, wait, and then, when he finally got real volume in 2025, he delivered 42 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 1 pass deflection in 12 games. Those are not instant superstar numbers, but they are the numbers of a defender who understands how to survive and impact the middle of chaos. And the tape against Chase Bisontis matters. Bisontis went early in the 2nd round to Arizona, and even then, Barrett gave him an uncomfortable game. Pressures, hurries, a penalty. One of those afternoons where a guard walks away knowing he had to earn every rep. That matters because interior defensive line play is not just about clean-looking stats. It is about collapsing the pocket, messing with angles, delaying progressions, and forcing the quarterback off his spot. The Chargers badly need that. Deshaun Hand is gone. Otito Ogbonnia is gone. Justin Aboigbe should take some of those snaps, of course. But if Los Angeles wants a rotation that does not crumble the second the starters need air, Barrett has to be part of that fight right now. Matt Money Smith has already shown excitement about him, and I understand it. There is an opening for somebody to walk in and take a role without asking for permission. The contract adds even more to the read. 4 years, just over $4.9 million, a $543,000 signing bonus, and a 2026 cap hit, a little above $1 million. That is affordable control. If Barrett develops into a useful piece, this is not only a great story, that is how you build an efficient roster. But none of that matters if the coaching staff puts the kid behind glass. The opportunity is right there, open. If he keeps making a strong impression, the Chargers simply cannot afford to bury interior pressure at the bottom of the rotation. This DK Metcalf conversation is going to bother people who have gotten way too comfortable. Should the Chargers keep waiting on Quentin Johnston to become something he still has not become, or should they go after a much bigger possibility if the market cracks open? Because DK Metcalf in Los Angeles is not just a big name. That is impact. That is a defense changing how it lines up before the snap. That is real physical weight next to Justin Herbert. And before anybody pretends this is free criticism of Johnston, slow down. The point is not that he is useless. He is not. After a disappointing rookie season with 431 yards, he did improve. He is 6'2", 208 pounds, and he scored 8 touchdowns in each of the last 2 seasons mentioned. That means something. Touchdowns do not just fall out of the sky. But the real point is different, and there is no reason to sugarcoat it. Johnston was a first-round pick, 21st overall in 2023. He was drafted to be an alpha, the guy who scares defenses, wins on the outside, and raises the ceiling of the offense. So far, he has not cleared 800 yards. If the most honest evaluation is that he is a solid, useful 700 to 800-yard receiver, fine, use that player. Just do not treat him as the final answer. That is exactly why the idea raised by Jake Beckman of Fansided gets Chargers fans thinking. Metcalf is basically the blueprint Los Angeles hoped Johnston would become. 6'4", 229 pounds, speed, power, true X-receiver presence. The kind of body that turns an isolated route into a miserable problem for a cornerback. With Herbert throwing the football, that becomes dangerous in a hurry. But being aggressive still has to mean being smart. If Johnston remains on the roster, the fit gets crowded because the profiles overlap, even if Metcalf is the better player. And the receiver room is already busy. Ladd McConkey has become the most dependable piece. Trey Harris arrived with pick 55 in 2025. Brennan Thompson came in at 105 to add speed. Oronde Gadsden, even though he is listed as a tight end, often works like a big slot. This is not some empty room begging for any famous name. The path that makes sense is more specific. If the Chargers decide to move Johnston, then Metcalf becomes a strategic strike. You are trading partial hope for a proven threat. You are giving Herbert a target who can win with power, while opening room for McConkey to attack defenses where he is at his best. The obstacle is Pittsburgh. If Aaron Rodgers is in his final season, the Steelers are looking at a contention window, not a sell-off. They added Michael Pittman Jr., drafted Jeremy Bernard, and even then, moving Metcalf would mean taking the WR1 straight out of the building. Beckman argued that if Pittsburgh sells, Metcalf should be the first to go because the guaranteed money ends after 2026 and the dead cap would not bury them. I understand the financial reasoning, but on the field, right now, it is difficult to picture the Steelers choosing to weaken their own chance. For the Chargers, the idea is exciting. For Pittsburgh, the situation would probably have to collapse. So my read is this: Los Angeles should monitor it, should attack if the door opens, but cannot base the whole plan on a door that might never unlock. Then the conversation becomes pure speed, but nobody should romanticize the issue. Brennan Thompson might be the most intriguing pick in the Chargers draft, because when a player runs a 4.26 at the combine, nobody gets to pretend that is some small detail. Speed like that scares a coordinator. Speed like that changes the angle for a safety. Speed like that makes a defense hesitate before squeezing everything toward the line. But this is the difference between excitement and reality. His roster spot looks safe, but his offensive role is not being handed to him. If Thompson wants to be more than an exciting threat on paper, he has to take that role through OTAs, practice, reps, fixed mistakes, and trust built with Mike McDaniel. His production at Mississippi State was legitimate, leading the SEC with 1,054 receiving yards, plus 57 catches and 6 touchdowns, is not just decoration on a resume. That proves he is not only a straight-line stopwatch guy. Does he need work as a route runner? Does he need cleaner cuts? Does he need to become more exact with his breaks? Yes. Lance Zierlein highlighted that developmental need in his NFL.com scouting report, and it makes total sense. At 5'9" 3/8" and 164 pounds at the combine, Thompson is not going to build a career by bullying defenders through the chest. He has to win with separation, timing, vertical stress, and intelligence. That is why the fit with McDaniel has this fan base itching to see it happen. This offense can use motion, slot alignments, horizontal speed, deep shots, and concepts that place defenders in conflict. Thompson is the type of piece who, if polished, does not need 10 targets a game to hurt you. Sometimes 2 vertical routes are enough to open everything underneath. Sometimes 1 long catch changes the energy of a game. But the room is crowded, and nobody needs to pretend otherwise. Ladd McConkey is the steadiest receiver in the group. Quentin Johnston is still near the front of the line. Trey Harris has the physical advantage and has already earned praise from Jim Harbaugh for his contested catch ability. Keandre Lambert-Smith showed flashes in 2025, and Thompson might need to begin by battling Darius Davis on returns before he earns a steady role on offense. So the question for this community is simple. Do you want Thompson pushed into the offensive plan immediately, or should the Chargers let his development cook until he is more ready? Because for me, the answer depends on one thing. If he proves early that he can run routes with discipline, McDaniel cannot leave 4.26 speed sitting in the garage. Speed like that was never meant to decorate a depth chart. I am going to talk about Justin Herbert without asking permission from lazy narratives, because there is a massive difference between holding the Chargers quarterback accountable and pretending he has had the perfect environment year after year to turn his talent into complete domination. I hold Herbert accountable, absolutely. I want the playoff moment. I want the signature season. I want the year where nobody can talk about his name without putting respect on it. But I am also not accepting shallow analysis that ignores what he has had around him. Bradley Locker from PFF put out a read that I think is strong. 2026 could finally become Herbert's all-pro year, and when I look at the argument, I do not see cheap exaggeration. In 2025, even while playing behind the lowest-graded offensive line in the league by PFF, and with a receiving group ranked only 20th in receiving grade, Herbert still finished 10th in overall grade among qualified quarterbacks at 78.0. More importantly, his turnover-worthy play rate was 2.6%, tied for 5th lowest. That tells me one thing. He was driving an unstable car and still keeping it from wrecking. Too many people erase that part because it is easier to scream about the result. But elite quarterbacks need structure too. And now that structure looks different. Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt coming back as Pro Bowl caliber tackles changes the floor of this offense. Mike McDaniel arriving as offensive coordinator changes the ceiling. And I am not only talking about pretty play calls drawn up on a whiteboard. I am talking rhythm, space, motion, quick answers, a run game that moves linebackers, routes that open reads, and protection that allows Herbert to attack instead of living in survival mode. Since 2021, according to the PFF note from the story, Herbert has the 4th best passing grade at 90.6. So forgive me, but talent was never the question. The question was whether the Chargers could build a machine worthy of that arm. Now, with McDaniel, with strong tackles, with a more protected and creative roster, I look at 2026 and see a real window for Herbert to crash the All-Pro conversation. And there is more. He even received a first-place MVP vote in 2025 because of how he competed despite a porous line and a limited offense. Now imagine that same quarterback without having to win every snap in panic mode. Imagine Herbert with time, design, speed, spread-out targets, and a play caller making defenses hesitate. To me, it is simple. If this offense reaches even half of its potential, the league will have to stop treating Herbert like an eternal promise and start dealing with the problem he becomes when Los Angeles finally gives him help. The picture today is clear. The Chargers are staring at choices that do not reward timidity. Nick Barrett could turn into valuable defensive line depth. The DK Metcalf idea proves the offense can still dream about a physical alpha. Brennan Thompson represents raw speed trying to earn a real role. And Justin Herbert, with Mike McDaniel, Slater, and Alt around him, enters 2026 with a chance to turn respect into a major award. Chargers fans know it. The talent is there, the window is there, and the pressure is there too. So comment which story matters most for the future of Los Angeles, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel.